Hello everybody and welcome to another video. This week we are going to be looking at the Civil War box that came out as of, I guess, 2 days ago when I'm recording this. Now, in all honesty, we're going to be going through all the modular encounter sets, talking about the themes. We may not be going card by card where I'm going to sit here and read verbatim every single card. Obviously, you can see a great deal of them. Some of them are even overlapping, so that's actually really cool. But what I will say is this is probably going to be my only video this week. Not to belabor it, just super busy. This is a big product. I don't know if I'm going to ever get into the competitive parts of the game. I might. I have looked through everything. I have a pretty good sense of what's going on. I definitely will be using these modular encounter sets. I do not know if I will actually be going up against leaders in like a one-on-one situation where like I actually fight Iron Man or Captain America. That's all to be decided in the future. Today we're just focusing on the modular encounter sets. And originally what I was going to do was actually just rank them all. And there are 16 of them, and while that's very possible, I do think that it would be a disservice for me to do that when I've actually not played with any of them. I sleeved them all up, I read them a little bit over the weekend, and I reread them as I was sleeving them up. That is the full extent of what I have done with these, but I do want to talk about them because I do think there's some interesting things going on. And I think that they kind of work well when just talking about the 5 card encounter sets by themselves and where they overlap and what the themes are and how you can hopefully use these to the best of your ability. Let's get into it. I will be sectioning off the video into registration and the resistance. So Captain America side, Iron Man side, we'll be talking about those in lumps. We'll talk about all of these. The Captain America side first. Just that's what we're going to colloquially know them as. I don't believe there's anything that would stop you from mixing and matching when you go into actual scenarios. But all of this is a bunch of setup for actually what I think is a really interesting product. And I think this is right up there with the Hood in terms of just giving you raw encounter sets that you're going to do something with. So let's start right here with Hell's Kitchen, the first one of the day. Obviously, we've got the 2 minions here. We've got Iron Fist and we've got Daredevil. They have when revealed abilities that impact the competitive part. If they don't attack your leader, they're going to be attacking you. I think that's both. Actually, both. Iron Fist, he's going to attack you. Daredevil, he's going to exhaust a character on your team. Either way, that's what you're going to know them for. You're going to know them for their boost abilities that basically help to do the same thing. Obviously, once again, just read the cards. I'm not going to belabor every single card. I'm going to put that right up front. That I'm going to give you a clear picture of them. I'm going to talk about my thoughts about them. I do think these are really interesting cards, just in the fact that Iron Fist has a lot of attack. Daredevil's very well rounded. Obviously, when they're revealed, they're doing something for you, and that's going to play into an effect as we talk about some of the minutia that's going on here. But up front, I just think these are really 2 interesting minions. Obviously, they both got the Defender trait. That's something to also keep in mind. They both have, when revealed, they also have boost abilities. That, like I said, that's going to be important as we move forward here. Additionally, we've got the Resistance Fighter, which this feels a lot like to Honorary Blank. This is just giving you the minion is getting +4 hit points in Stalwart. That's a little bit above like an Honorary, although the version of this that we'll see in the registration side feels like it's very much like an Honorary Blank. What I like about this is just that you're putting it in competitive mode. The other team gets to choose where this goes to. And of course, like if you're just playing this in one-on-one scenario, or if you're just playing this like normal Marvel Champions, you're just supposed to use the Gurm rule. You're supposed to put it on what would make sense for the worst possible outcome for you. What would, if there was another living, breathing opponent, what would you do? That's the spirit of the rules. You don't have to follow that, obviously. Again, there's a boost ability on here. I don't remember if that doesn't necessarily play into what we're doing here, although I see, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but remember that these cards do have boost abilities. That's going to be important going forward. Then we've got Secret Defenders, which is a card that we will see again. Treachery, that just each minion activates against the player it's engaged with. Otherwise, the enemy leader activates against you. Do not give them a boost card for this activation. So what I like about this is just in general, it's going to, all of these encounter sets are very minion focused. I think if you are someone that wants to integrate more minions into your games, these are going to be strong. They work a lot like the Thunderbolts, the Elite Thunderbolts that we saw during the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wave, where they're very tightly designed. They are pushing an archetype for what you're doing. Those were really looking at one large minion, whereas most of these are going to be featuring multiple minions of varying sizes. But I do think that a card like this definitely helps, that if you want to just integrate more minions in and you want to be flavorful, you want to fight against Daredevil or Luke Cage, now is the time to do that, and you have a way to really make those minions shine, which I think is going to be important going forward. And lastly, we just have the side scheme. Has hinder 1 per player, and then threat cannot be removed from this scheme while a defender minion is in play, and you get an additional encounter card. So it's going to come into play with at least 4, could be more than that. And yeah, just overall, I guess I don't want to pretend like I know the rules backwards and forwards enough to say if you're playing with, well, let's say you're doing competitive, you're doing 2v2. Maybe if I look up the rule book and see in there, it will say that you should be doing that's a 4-player game, or I don't know if that's a 2-player game. I will try to get that rule up on screen just so that is a thing, because that's probably a question that people are going to have. But yeah, overall, I just think that this cares about defenders. Defender minions, and if you kind of look at all of the encounter sets we're looking at, we're going to see quite a few defenders, and so this is going to be good for mixing and matching. In fact, this one and the next encounter set that I'm going to be talking about are two that, like, we'll see several times in this. We're basically seeing some of them are really well paired up, and then there's other encounter sets here that are just going to be really good as kind of their own individual thing. They're bringing in a unique mechanic that doesn't kind of tie between two, which again, this makes it a lot easier to go, okay, I want to make an encounter deck, and I've got the Hell's Kitchen, and I've got the Defender's encounter set, which we're about to talk about, and those two play really well with each other. So you already kind of knocked out 2 spots when you're building a custom deck. And again, I haven't gotten into the competitive part of this. I do think that there is a lot of interesting things going on where you're able to build an encounter deck, and I think that for people that really are big on creating their own encounters, like just making not custom content as in custom stuff, but taking the game itself and building custom scenarios with what is already official product, I think this is going to be a huge boon for them. I'm actually really excited. This was a product that I kind of felt like was a C+ in terms of my hype, and it's kind of grown into a solid B, and maybe it's going to be a B+. I don't know. This isn't the best product, but like I said, I like the hood product. This is definitely working out really well to kind of match that energy. Next up, we have the Defenders encounter set, and that is going to include Mr. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. Again, these two have revealed abilities. In this case, if you're playing in competitive mode, they're going to stun or confuse your leader. Otherwise, they're going to stun or confuse you. I do like this in the fact that if you want to just kind of like play in a world like, you're playing with Mysterio, or you're playing with, I guess, even like someone like Baron Zemo, you have the ability to kind of now integrate the heroes into what you're doing in a way that if you want to kind of twist the lore or the flavor of everything, or just like the general minutia of everything, just say like, hey, yeah, this is a situation where there's a misunderstanding of what's going on, and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, they're the defenders, they're the heroes for hire, they're going to do what they're going to need to do, and you just run the wrong side of them. Again, there's a boost ability. I think that's going to be important. I don't remember maybe I've just got it wrong. Somewhere in here, there is content that cares about the boost, and maybe it's in one of these. We're going to get to that, but just remember, these are defenders, so they're going to interact with the side scheme that cares about defenders. But yeah, just overall, I think that these two work really well together. I'm happy that they're in a set together because they are romantically involved in the lore, and so if they can be linked in the game, even if not explicitly in a romantic situation, I can totally feel that. Next up, we've got Protect the Innocent. A treachery, give the enemy leader and each minion a tough status counter. That's pretty brutal. If the enemy leader is already tough, this card gains Surge. So this is just going to be a nice curveball for any situation you might find yourself in. I do think that this is interesting because it's giving each minion, not every minion engaged with you, just every minion gets a tough status. And I think that I haven't gone down the road, except for like very exclusively, with maybe like a card that is, like, I don't know that I've done this with like the Infinity Stones, but let's say that you wanted to just include one Infinity Stone. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm slicing up encounter sets to further a different encounter deck, but this is a card that I feel like is definitely going to make me want to include the defenders, because this is doing something that is pretty unique and makes for an interesting situation. And just to kind of remember that right up there in the rules book, they even say that, like, if you're doing this not in competitive mode, you can just treat the enemy leader as the villain. Just keep that in mind. I think that rule is going to work out very well for just kind of the shorthand. And yeah, just this is an interesting card, and I had to reread it a couple times. It's like, wow, this is crazy powerful, and it can just be right there in any encounter deck. Then we've got another printing of Secret Defenders. So again, each minion activates against the player they're engaged with. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, the enemy leader engages, and you don't give them an activation, or you don't give them a boost card. We already know that. I think it's cool, interesting design. And then we have the Defenders proper as a side scheme. Hinder, each minion gains guard, and you're going to be, an acceleration icon, so you're going to be getting extra threat. I think that just in overall, this is going to be interesting because it's going to make just giving guard to every minion is already interesting. But I think that when you bring together the two defenders and counter sets, I think you're going to get a very high percentage of the deck, because suddenly that's 10 cards out of, I would think the average encounter deck is like 35 to 40 cards max. So this is going to be a good swath, and it's going to have an impact on your game. Moving out of the defenders, we're going to be moving into the Avengers in two different encounter sets, and one of them, the Secret Avengers. So as you can see, we've got some stuff here, and we've got some things that will be overlapping. And I think this is where, this is where we're going to be kind of getting that illusion to remember that these all had boost abilities. So right off the bat, we've got Black Panther and Spectrum, who, as you can see, have teamwork. So that means that, let's say Black Panther's engaged with you, and somebody at the table, anybody, draws Spectrum. Spectrum is going to immediately activate against you, whether that is scheming or attacking. So it's both quick strike and a term that we have not figured out yet, but I sometimes think of like quick thinking. The minion comes in and they do some scheming immediately. That's not canon. That's not anything other than kind of what I've kind of made my head canon. But yes, these have teamwork. That's going to be something that we're going to be seeing across both of these encounter sets. Again, they have boost abilities. That's going to be important. That's important from the defenders. In fact, do all the defenders? Yes, all the defenders have had boost abilities. Those are going to be important. That is, I think, what strengthens. I think this is all coming from Captain America's like stock deck, and yeah, it all integrates really well with each other. Then we've got Freedom Fighters, which is a card that we will see multiple of. Love this. This is right out of, I want to say this is out of Civil War number 3. Maybe it's number 2. Whichever one has the robot Thor show up at some point, the cyborg Thor. Maybe that's 3. I feel like there was a big cliffhanger at 3, and then 4 was delayed for a while back when it was coming out in like 2006, 2007. But yeah, this is straight out of that. Freedom Fighters, when revealed, resolve the boost ability of each minion in play. So all those boost abilities that I've been alluding to, you're gonna just resolve them. If no boost abilities were resolved this way, this card gains Surge, and then it has a boost ability to resolve the boost ability of each minion engaged with you. And so yeah, that's a little bit parried back, because obviously we've got each minion in play. This is each minion engaged with you for the boost ability. This is just cool. I think this is an interesting design space that I don't feel like we've explored. If we've explored it, it's been in encounter sets that I just do not use, and there's a lot of encounter sets. I think that's the really big thing about this game that I think is really engrossing, is there's a lot that can be customized about this, and this is just, taking it to the next level. Not yet. Then we've got Switching Sides and Treachery, and this one was interesting. I had to kind of wrap my mind around this, because I vaguely understand that basically when you open up competitive mode, basically you've built an encounter deck and you kind of swap encounter decks with your opponent. And so the reading of this, it took me a while to make sure that I processed what was going on. But we got Switching Sides. When revealed, discard an ally you control. In competitive mode, any player on the enemy team may spend resources equal to that ally's cost and put it into play under their control. If no ally left played this way, this card gains Surge. If I'm understanding correctly, let's just say that you are playing with Black Widow and your identity-specific Winter Soldiers in play. So they're going to get discarded if you are in competitive. So that's just verbatim. Like you are playing against Claw and switching sides comes up, you're just getting rid of your ally. If you're in competitive mode, the enemy team can then basically recruit that person to their side. I think that's really interesting. I think it's thematic, and I'm interested to see where this goes, because this is the kind of card that would make me excited for competitive mode, and that's why competitive mode didn't really kind of ring true for me. I don't really want to do that, but if there's a chance to kind of like do a little bit of shenanigans like this, I think that there's a lot of space for something else. And I'll even say that competitive mode being that you had to pick either the resistance or the registration, I think is really cool and interesting. I do have to wonder if there's going to be a little bit of hindrance for how far that idea is going to go, because I think of, and this is the worst example, but there was a Austin Powers like tie-in card game, but you needed to either be on Austin Powers side or Dr. Evil's side. And so how does a competitive game work that way when you might only have a certain amount of so you're hosting a tournament in your card shop, and I realize this is all a little bit hyperbolic, but let's just go with me for a second. So you're hosting a tournament, you've got 30 people, 5 of which are Dr. Evil and 25 of which are Austin Powers. That's not a competitive mode that works out. That's not a tournament that works out. Obviously, we were talking about Civil War. The group of people that's coming together is going to be smaller. You can just prep both a resistance deck and a registration deck and just come there and be like the most gracious host you can be and allow anybody to play whatever. I'm not saying that like this is the same as that tie-in game, but that was an example that came to my mind because I remember that game coming out and I'm being like, oh, this is a competitive game that you can play against other people, but how does that work in like a tournament sense? And so I'm hoping that if we do see more PvP stuff, that it allows you to gain a little bit more factions so that all you need to do is just not be in the same faction as somebody else. That's putting the cart before the horse here a little bit, but that was just some thoughts that came to my mind as I was looking over this product. Lastly, we've got Secret Avengers. Hinder, you can't interact. You have to get all the threat off of this before you can interact with it, before you can interact with the main scheme. And when defeated, the enemy team searches the top 5 cards of the encounter deck for a card. Give that card to the enemy leader as a face down boost card. So you defeat this, the opponent or the opponent's team is going to look through the top 5 and give one of those as a boost card for the leader that is standing in front of you. I think that's really interesting. I think that's really cool. And I think that this forces you to have to deal with it. And that's awesome. And so, yeah, just overall, I think this is not my favorite encounter set. But like I said, these all intertwine with each other in a way that I feel excited about where this is all going. Next up, we have the new Avengers encounter set. And that's going to include Falcon, Hercules, and Goliath. Obviously, again, these all have teamwork, so when they come into play, you are going to say, hey, if these two are in play and Goliath gets drawn, Goliath is going to activate. They have when defeated triggers, which I don't remember. The other Avengers had when defeated triggers as well. They have boost triggers that are tied again. And of course, we've got Freedom Fighters, which is going to be coming up in this encounter set as well. So you have another chance to just trigger all those boost abilities. And I think that overall, just being able to say, hey, you're confused, you're stunned, the enemy leader gains a tough status counter is all cool. And I like also that it ties into the when defeated trigger. It's when defeated, just giving a boost card to the enemy leader is also interesting. And yeah, overall, obviously you can read the cards. I think that they have their merits. I think that they are pretty thematic. And again, like I said before with some of the defenders, it's just interesting to be able to put these into encounter sets as, just a form of misunderstanding amongst heroes. Or you can play with mind control. Obviously, we already talked about how Freedom Fighters is here. It is. And then we have New Avengers. Comes in with 3, hinder 1, and when defeated, shuffle each minion in the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Those minions that we care about that happen to have teamwork are going to be put back into the deck, just making it so that they're going to come back even faster. I do like this also as a mechanic to fill up the encounter deck a little bit and buy you some time. You're not always going to be just rushing through the encounter deck. I think that's all like well and good. Not my favorite side scheme we've seen so far, but I definitely can see the merits. Then we're moving on to another kind of like little mini cluster. The first of which is going to be the Atlanteans encounter set. So as we can see, we have 3 copies of Atlantean Guard. Right off the bat, they have Guard. That should be expected. They have 3 health, and all 3 of them are 1 scheme to attack. Atlantis traded Guard, and again, because they're all the same card, but when revealed, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. I think that's going to be pretty important to what we're seeing. Additionally, just making you burn through your deck faster is relevant. 3 cards is, generally that's going to be probably about 10% of your deck or more, depending on how long the game's been going on. And so yeah, just having 3 copies of them just kind of lurking in the deck is going to be interesting. Then we've got Atlanteans, a treachery. When revealed, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If you are in alter ego form, place 1 threat on the main scheme for each different card type discarded this way. If you're in hero form, take 1 indirect damage for each different card type discarded this way. So this is going to become very deck dependent. If you are somebody that's very event focused, this might do less to you. If you're somebody that has a much more even keel of different cards, this is going to affect you differently. I am interested in the way that this is structured, because the way that it's formatted is a little bit different than it used to be, where you take something like something out of standard that's like, if you are in alter ego, do this. If you're in hero form, do this. It's all doing the same thing, but it's just kind of formatted a little bit differently, and I don't know if that's something they're going to be going with moving forward. Then we've got Atlantis attacks, a side scheme, hinder 1 per player. When revealed, discard the top 1 per player cards of your deck. Place 1 acceleration token here for each different card type discarded this way. That is brutal. Again, this is going to matter on what kind of deck you've built. If you're very event focused and so many of your cards are that type, then that's what's going to affect you. This is not about resources, it's about card type. And I'm interested to see this also because this tied into something like Strife, where he cares about I believe he cares about the different card types in your hand. And so this is going to kind of be doing double duty here. And that's kind of where the thematics of this is all going to come into place. How can we take this and make it into something relevant? And we're about to get into Namor. Namor is already sort of villainous enough that it's easy to sort of paint the Atlanteans as bad guys without it seeming as much of a thematic break as fighting the Secret or the new Avengers, including cards we've already talked about. So speaking of which, like I said, we're going to be talking about Namor. And here Namor is. We've got the Namor encounter set. And this is some pretty great art. This is some pretty great art. We've got Namor. He is Atlantis and elite traded. He's 1/1 with villainous and 6 health. He's stalwart and tough. Or he's got toughness. He is interesting. And when revealed, he activates against you. This is just one heck of a strong minion. He's going to come out into play. He's going to be doing a lot of stuff. He's going to be activating against you. So he doesn't care if you're in alter ego. He doesn't care if you're in hero form. He's going to be doing something, and that's really cool. We have Neptune's Trident and the Horn of Proteus, which I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm thinking of the X-Men character named Proteus. But obviously, this bumps up your attack. This bumps up your scheming. It can go on Namor, or it can go on the enemy leader, which also means the villain. And we have some hero actions to get rid of them. We're doing different stuff. I like that when the attached character schemes, give it a tough status card. That is so like 4-dimensional chess by the villains. But yeah, I think that's really interesting. And yeah, just being able to granting the attached character piercing. You give the Trident to Ultron, you give the Trident to who is I thinking? Juggernaut. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. And again, Namor is villainous. He's nefarious enough that it's not a big twist that he would be helping out the villains, because he's always sort of been an anti-hero anyway. Then we've got a copy of Imperious Rex. When revealed, if Namor is in play, he activates against you. Otherwise, the enemy leader activates against you. And then a boost ability to give the activating enemy an additional boost card. So yeah, that's just all well and good. And I like that this sort kind of surges when it comes to boosts. You already have the one boost icon, but you're going to be adding another one. That's pretty cool. And yeah, just overall, getting more activations out, especially when you've got villainous or just villain characters, is always going to be potent. And then lastly, in Namor's pack, we've got the Rulers of Atlantis, 3 threat, hinder 1. Each Atlantis minion cannot take damage, and this has got an amplify icon. So yeah, overall, we have, at least in terms of in our game at current, we have 4 Atlantis allies, 1 of which is in this encounter set, 3 of which strongly intertwined into this. And I think very similar to what I said about the Defenders, you can say the same thing about Secret and the new Avengers. They're Avengers characters. Those 2 encounter sets fit together. The Atlantis and the Namor, or the Atlanteans and the Namor encounter sets also tie together, and I think that's going to make building encounter decks just that much easier, because you've already sort of got the blueprints for what to expect. And rounding out our encounter sets, we've got 2 more left, and they're sort of more independent. We've got one that I'm very excited about, which is Cloak and Dagger, which comes with both Cloak and Dagger. They're mirror pairs of each other for the most part. 1 scheme 2 attack and 2 scheme 1 attack. 3 health and 4 health. They are defenders, which I guess I didn't catch that before. So they do also tie in really well with the defender stuff we were already talking about. I don't know that I would generally put them in the comic book lore as defenders, but I don't think that's too far out of left field to kind of say. And then they've got both one revealed abilities, they've got boost abilities, which again is going to play into interacting really well with their defender trait. It's going to interact well with the defender stuff. The boost ability is going to interact well with the, what is it called? Freedom Fighters? Let me just make sure I got that right. Yeah, so we're all speaking in the same language. The Freedom Fighters from the other encounter set is going to blend really well with this. And yeah, just overall, I think it's also interesting that when you have Freedom Fighters, you get to use both of these to go, if Cloak is in play, you reveal Dagger, so that doesn't really matter. Otherwise, it's already in place, it's already revealed. Deal damage to a character you control, and then Cloak, you don't really care if Dagger's in play, but because you're going to hit the otherwise clause and you're going to place 1 throughout the main scheme. That turns Freedom Fighters into a much more potent card, something that I wasn't entirely prepared for. But then with the Defenders one, threat cannot be removed while there's a defender in play. That's sweet. And then each minion gains guard out of the other Defenders one. So yeah, this is a encounter set that is going to blend really well with both of those, and I'm actually pretty excited by that. We've got the Dark Force and the Light Force. I like the fact that these 2 could have been the same card type, but they weren't. The Dark Force is an attachment which you give to the enemy leader and give it a tough status card, and then after the attached character schemes and places threat on the main scheme, remove an equal amount of threat from your leader's main scheme, discard this card. So if I'm understanding correctly, that basically means that you've handed over your Captain America deck, and they get the Dark Force on them. When they add threat to a scheme, then you get to remove the same amount from the scheme that's presently in front of you from the Iron Man deck you're going up against. And that is interesting. The fact that this also discards itself, I think, is playing fairly. And then the Light Force being a revelation, a treachery card that just, when revealed, heal 3 damage from the enemy leader, take 3 indirect damage. So this is just coming down, it's healing up the enemy leader for you, and then it's dealing damage indirectly to you. And yeah, that feels like it's playing fair, changing up the game in a way where you can't just be super mathematical about it. Then we've got the side theme Cloak and Dagger, comes in with 3 threat, hinders 1, and when defeated, heal 3 damage from the enemy leader and give them a tough status card. Plus, it's not going anywhere. You have to interact with it before you can deal with the main scheme. So I think overall, just Cloak and Dagger are adding something really interesting to the game. Additionally, these 2 are sort of always on the outskirts of the hero community. So the idea of them kind of, again, falling into that misunderstanding, I think is really strong. And rounding out the Resistance, I hope I have that right, the Resistance encounter sets, we have Spider-Man, which only has the single minion Spider-Man, he is Avenger and he is elite traded. I think the elite trait is very important. I think the Avenger trait, again, is going to be really important. It doesn't have teamwork, but it's definitely going to help you to trigger teamwork. 2/2 and 4 health. And when revealed, Spider-Man attacks each player with a tangled up attachment. If no attack was made this way, the enemy team searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a copy of Tangled Up and gives it to you as a face-down encounter card. I do like the idea of the enemy team doing that because to preserve a little bit of the spontaneity of the game, the enemy team gets to go grab it as to, just preserve that mystery. But we're going to need to know what the 2 copies of Tangled Up are. And they are attachments. They attach to your leader, otherwise attached to your hero. And when the attached character would scheme, thwart, or attack, discard this card instead. I think that's really just a fun way to kind of be a omni status thing. You don't get to just kind of like skirt it and be like, well, I'm confused, but I'm just never going to thwart. Here, it's interesting also because you add it to the leader can't scheme, your hero can't thwart, both of them can't attack. This just gets rid of it. And then the boost card, which that doesn't matter because Freedom Fighters cares about the boost ability on each minion. Let me just make sure of that. I don't want to be talking completely out of my ass here. Yeah, each minion in play. Okay, so then, the boost ability, if the Spider-Man minion is in play, reveal this card. Just some potent ability to make sure that it actually stays relevant in the game. So Spider-Man is going to double down and make Tangled Up as pertinent to the game as possible. Then we've got Spectacular, which was a treachery that blew my mind a little bit. When revealed, place 2 threat on the main scheme. In competitive mode, remove 2 threat from your leader's main scheme. This is fun. It's going to come down. It's going to basically do what was already kind of being seen with the Light Force, is just moving threat around. And I think anytime that you can kind of, again, change the math, it's not as simple as it looks. Suddenly your math goes off and you're like, oh no, the threat is going to threat out and like immediately. And we have to do something about that. And just Spectacular does that for you. And then Friendly Neighborhood. We've got Neighborhood Hero, which is a side scheme. When revealing competitive mode, move 2 threat from your leader's main scheme to this scheme. Otherwise, place 2 threat per player here. And it has the amplify icon. So you don't necessarily need to deal with this, but it's going to have some threat on it. And that's what's going to be important. Either it's going to have a lot of threat from being in singleton mode, or it's going to buy yourself you fairly get to have a little bit of extra time. Or do you? Okay, wait. So in competitive mode, move 2 threat from your leader's main scheme to this scheme. So does that mean that this is you move 2 threat from the scheme across the table to this scheme? So you're basically, no, I think that means that if you're going up against Captain America, you're taking it from Captain America's one. Not that you handed the Iron Man deck over. Yeah, I think that's how it works. I could be wrong. Like, this is all so new that I could be misunderstanding this. I think what this is going to do is it's going to take the threat from the main scheme you are currently going up against, move it to here. If not, then it's just going to, get that hinder 2 essentially. But that is all of the resistance. And I have to say that I like just how these all kind of go together. And looking at the traits and everything definitely made me realize just how much minutia is going on. And I think that's really a successful design. But now let's move on to the registration and get into those cards. So the registration is a little bit harder to talk about, but I do see a lot of overlapping themes that I think are going to make this into a really good place to look when you're just trying to fill out the theming of an encounter deck by kind of just adding in shield as a antagonist. And above other things, I think that's going to be one of the core reasons why I'm going to get a lot of use out of this. I think this is going to interact really favorably with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, because they already turned S.H.I.E.L.D. into a little bit of an antagonist just because of the misunderstanding, again, that's kind of brought in from the final encounter. But let's get into this real quick. We've got 2 copies of Cape Killer, and the encounter set is called Cape Killer. 1/2 minions with 4 health, shield traded with quick strike, and force to interrupt when the Cape Killer's attack and identity with the unregistered trait, it gets +2 for this attack. So that is one of the things that, granted, we talked about how Cloak and Dagger and Spider-Man are their own individual encounter sets, but they do have places where you can kind of overlap with what's going on. I think that this one has some more blatant ones, and unregistered is one of those ones that is featured in a bunch of places, but I feel like really kind of it's bolded. I mean, obviously it's bolded, but like it's bold in the way it's used, and I think that it creates some really interesting minutia. Let's get into that. So right off the bat, we have Unregistered Super, which is something that we're going to see multiple times of. It is an obligation. Your identity gains the unregistered trait, an alter ego action of discard an identity-specific card from your hand, discard this card. That's the kind of alter ego action we've seen before. It has a boost icon, so you're going to be unregistered. That means that cape killers are going to be dealing you more damage. You're also going to have additional threat being put on the main scheme. I do think the registration side is definitely going to be very heavy-handed with what it's doing. And Unregistered Super is one of those. I think it's going to be a key domino in a lot of what the registered decks are doing. Although they don't have to. You can get really creative with this, and I'm excited for that. Bring them in. A treachery, when revealed, exhaust each unregistered identity. Otherwise, the enemy team searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a copy of Unregistered Super and deals it to you as a face-down encounter card. So this is going to be relevant. Unregistered Super is a card that we see in multiple encounter sets. Again, you can group those encounter sets together so that there's a higher consistency of cards that care about unregistered and ways to give unregistered. And yeah, this is just again, this is right out of it's out of the Civil War arc. This was issue 2. I think issue 2 is when we find out about Project 42. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I've read it. And then we've got Arrest Order, which again, this is I think out of almost the exact same page as we just saw. Side Scheme, Hinder 1 comes in with 3. When defeated, the defending player deals the topmost shield minion in the encounter discard pile to themselves as a face-down encounter card. And yeah, you're not going to be dealing with the main scheme while this is in play. So again, getting out shield minions, whether it be here or like I said with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., giving you some encounter cards with S.H.I.E.L.D. I think there's going to be a lot of space for S.H.I.E.L.D. to just be the entire modular encounter set. Like everything in your out of the modular encounters you can pick, when you want to customize the scenario, it could all be S.H.I.E.L.D. and really turns into this oppressive S.H.I.E.L.D. Encounter deck that I think is going to be really interesting as we sort of like figure out how we want to mix and match these cards with the existing product. Speaking of S.H.I.E.L.D., we have the Martial Law encounter set, which has 3 copies of S.H.I.E.L.D. Soldier, a 1/1 with 3 health and the S.H.I.E.L.D. trait. When revealed, put the topmost S.H.I.E.L.D. minion in the encounter discard pile into play, engage with you. Boost ability, put this minion into play, engage with you. So this is going to find its way into play. It's going to go grab the cape killers. It's going to go in and grab, some people we're going to talk about in a little bit. This is interesting because this is very forced. This is really going to get you there. And I like the design. I think it's a little pushy, but at the same time, it sounds really fun if you're just trying to make a little bit more of a minion-focused, oppressive deck. We've got Rapid Response, which, again, I like for just what it's doing with the Alter Ego form and the Hero form. You're getting additional threat putting on to main scheme, onto the main scheme, and you're getting damage done. All depended on what the minion was that you flipped over. Again, a lot of these can be S.H.I.E.L.D., so it might only be 1 damage. It might only be, 2 damage, depending on what's going on. The nice thing is that something like Cape Killers is not going to care about unregistered for this. It's just going to be that straight up 2. But at the same time, yeah, this is just... it feels like it's something that the heroes will be doing, that the villains get to really take advantage of it. I think that's going to be interesting. I guess you're also playing with the team leaders, so it's all heroes versus heroes. But yeah, this is a interesting design it's just very oppressive, very pushy. It's putting stuff into the discard pile, making it so that there are things to do with your Arrest Order, with your S.H.I.E.L.D. Soldier that's going to be putting minions into play. And lastly, for this encounter set, we have Shield Patrol, which just gives each minion guard. It amplifies, and it's just going to have some threat on it. And yeah, we've seen this before. We've seen cards like this. We've seen stuff like this already today. And yeah, just interesting card design. Moving forward, I'm kind of at a loss for where to go next. So I think we're going to talk about the actual Heroes for Hire, which we recognize some of these cards already, but we've got another copy of Unregistered Hero or Unregistered Super. But let's talk about the two minions that come in here. We got Colleen Wing and Shang-Chi, and they're Heroes for Hire. They've got when revealed abilities that again care if you have unregistered. They're doing what they're doing. They're going to get in your way. The when revealed are definitely going to be oppressive to you. Again, if you're not talking about an enemy team, you're not playing competitive, you're just grimly going, okay, so I'm unregistered, I'm going to go with what is the worst possible option for me. And again, that's the spirit of the rules. You don't have to do that, but I think that you should very strongly consider it. The only hindrance here is that this doesn't work for everywhere because, actually, I know, I suppose the Shang-Chi ally is an ally, not a minion. So yeah, this is going to be a brand new uncharted territory here, as our allies can also be minions, and we're going to have to become very well equipped with how the rules handle unique characters. And so we're all going to learn. We're going to learn together, and it's going to be fun. Got Unregistered Super. I've seen this before. It's just another way to get unregistered trade onto something. Got Bounty Hunting, which is something that we will see again in another encounter set. When revealed, discard one card from your hand at random if you have the unregistered trait. Place one threat on the main scheme for each resource icon on that card. So this can be very situational. You have some heroes that are going to naturally have a 2 or 3 icon resource icon card in their deck, which could be or will be in their hand. But for the most part, this is just going to really add just one. I like the fact that it can be random if you have the unregistered trait. That just interacts really well with what we're already trying to do and what the encounter deck is doing against you. But yeah, we'll see this card again, I think at least in one other place. And then the encounter, or the side scheme, which is Heroes for Hire. Again, we have a lot of hinder 1 on a 3 threat thing. We've got the additional encounter card, and when defeated, the enemy team searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a copy of Unregistered Super and deals it to the defending player as a face down encounter card. Now, with our other one that has Unregistered Super, do we have a way to... Oh, I suppose we've got bring them in, which is going to be, yeah, just strongly playing into Unregistered Super and making it so that that is a effect that is going to have impact on your game. You're going to see this effect. Not guaranteed, but you're very strongly going to see it because there's going to be so many ways that are kind of like pushing for that to happen. And actually, let's talk about the next encounter set that is going to be interacting with the unregistered trait. So we've got the Paladin encounter set, which comes with the 1 minion, 2/2 with 5 health, the hero and Heroes for Hire, the elite and the Heroes for Hire trait. It's got quick strike and toughness. When revealed, discard 1 card from your hand at random if you have the unregistered trait. So this is just messing with your card economy. Nothing beyond that, just being a good unregistered kind of matters card. And we've got 2 copies of Paladin's Pistol, which can be attached to Paladin or to the enemy leader, Atlantean villain. When the attached character attacks, this attack gains ranged and overkill. Discard this card after this attack. Again, this is a +2 attack. Again, this is an interesting thing to possibly add to Juggernaut. So you've got Black Tom Cassidy, but instead of the Creeping Willows, you just have Paladin. I think that's an interesting way to go about it. We've got another copy of Bounty Hunting. So again, we care about unregistered. And the card that I kept thinking about, where is this? What encounter set has this? Paladin has it. So we've got Government Contractor. Again, 3 health or 3 threat with hinder 1 per player. And each identity gains the unregistered trait plus a boost icon. So, not a boost icon, an acceleration icon. This is going to be a side scheme that I think is going to make a lot of interesting scenarios, because you don't always care about unregistered, but if there's a side scheme that's giving you unregistered, that's starting around unregistered super, or unregistered super, and it's just making it so that it is a consistent thing that you have to deal with. You have to get the unregistered trait off of you, or else you're going to start to fall prey to everything that the cards that care about that are going to do. Suddenly Halloween Wing is going to come down, she's going to mess with you. Shang-Chi's going to come down, he's going to mess with you. You're just going to get, all the bad things that happen, and, discarding cards at random, all that stuff. And yeah, Government Contractor is, I think, one of my favorite cards just for what it's going to be able to do to the game. Then let's go look at what our Avengers on this side are doing. So first of all, we've got the Initiative, which is kind of what was happening after Civil War, living in Iron Man's America. Every state in the 50 states had a team that was protecting them. That's what the 50 States Initiative is, which we'll get to in just a second. But yeah, for short, it was called the Initiative. And we've got two minions as part of this. We've got Hellcat, who is an Avenger with 1/2 stats, 3 health, has Quick Strike. That's going to be important. The Quick Strike's going to be important. And a when revealed of you are stunned. If you're already stunned, take 2 indirect damage. On the flip side, we've got Doc Samson, a character who I'd like to see be a hero. 2/2 stats with 4 health, Gamma, and Avenger. And he's got Guard. That's going to be important. When revealed, you are confused. If you're already confused, place 2 threat on the main scheme. And we've got boost abilities, which again, this is going to be the fun part, is that's not pertinent. I don't think that's pertinent to just playing straight registered versus unregistered people. But when you start to mix these together, suddenly you've got a boost ability, and Freedom Fighter is going to do something. But we also have something else going on here, and I don't remember. I think it's in the other encounter set that's going to care about this, but their keywords are going to be important going forward. We've got Drafted, which is the honorary Avengers for the villain deck, for the encounter deck. We got Drafted, attached minion gets +2 hit points and gains the Avenger trait. When revealed in competitive mode, the enemy team attaches Drafted to a minion engaged with them, and that minion engages you. So it goes from being something that is engaged with them across the table, moves over to be engaged with you. I like that. That's just like pulling out it's like the poolized minions, or poolized allies now become minions. But now it's a minion that's engaged with me becomes a minion that's engaged with you. They get a little bit extra hit points. They become an Avenger traded thing. Or if that's not something that's happening because we're not in competitive mode, otherwise discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a minion is discarded, reveal that card, and attach Drafted to it. So yeah, this works in all ways. And I think this is another really cool, interesting design, and I love the way it works in competitive mode, where suddenly a minion over here becomes a minion over there. We've got Mighty Avengers, which is the card that we will see again. Treachery, when revealed, resolve the when revealed ability on each minion in play. If no when revealed abilities were resolved this way, this card gains Surge. So that's going to be interesting with Doc Samson or the like. That's going to be interesting with some other cards we're about to get into, but also something like Paladin. It's going to be interesting. And then let me just flip back over to the Renegades. So yeah, something like Daredevil. He's got a when revealed ability. And so once you start to mix and match and you start to really craft a new encounter deck using both sides of this, you're not worried about competitive mode. You're just worried about creating an interesting game state. Mighty Avengers is going to enable all of these things to interweave in an interesting way. And lastly, we've got the 50 States Initiative, 3 threat, hinder 1. When defeated, shuffle each Avenger minion in the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. And yeah, you're going to have to deal with this because you can't touch the main scheme while this is in play. So yeah, I like this. I like the fact that it is all about trying to put an Avengers team in every state, and it's just supporting Avengers minions in the encounter deck, or in the encounter discard pile. Moving on, we've got we're getting close here. So we've got the Mighty Avengers, which I should really just put down. We see Mighty Avengers again as a treachery comes up, but let's talk about it real quick. I love that these are just 5-card encounter decks. It allows you to not change a lot, but be really interesting with what you're doing. So we've got U.S. Agent, Wasp, and Yellow Jacket. We've got Retaliate 1, Toughness. We've got Teamwork, which is, again, this is engaged with somebody. Wasp gets drawn. Wasp immediately activates. When revealed, place 1 threat on the main scheme. Additionally, Yellow Jacket, also known as Ant-Man. He's original Hank Pym Ant-Man. He has Toughness, and when revealed, give the enemy leader a tough status card. So that's going to be interesting. And again, these have keywords. These have when revealed abilities. These have boost abilities. These are all going to be ways to make all this stuff interact really interestingly and really well. Obviously, one of those ways is going to be through Mighty Avengers, who we've already talked about, but this is going to, give the enemy leader another tough status card. This is going to be putting threats somewhere. This is going to be dealing a damage to your identity, what have you. And lastly, we've got Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which I think is really interesting. So, again, 3 threat, hinder 1. Each Avenger minion gains the printed keywords of each other Avenger minion. So suddenly, all of them have toughness. I think all of them have teamwork. All of them have retaliate and toughness. We move over to the other side. Again, teamwork and teamwork. I suppose that's teamwork as Falcon. Actually, wow, okay. So all these they work together really well, but they don't actually have keywords beyond that. And with Spider-Man, he just gains all of them, but he's just elite and all that stuff. Like, he doesn't actually have a keyword to give out. But Spider-Man gaining toughness, gaining retaliate 1, gaining that's just interesting and fun, and that's just the power of what Earth's Mightiest Heroes is going to do. And overall, I just think this is such an interesting way to tie all of these encounter sets together. It's just make these traits matter. Make traits, whether they be something that gets added to your hero or to your enemy minions, is just making that all interact is so interesting to me. And as we move into the final stretch, we get into, again, like I said, there's going to be these kind of unique ones, although as I'm thinking about it, this is all going to play really well with each other because traits matter and all this stuff. So first of all, we've got Maria Hill, who's another 5-card encounter set. Right off the bat, we've got the Minion, 2/2 stats with 4 health, the Elite and Shield. She's got Retaliate 2. Luckily, she's not an Avenger in this moment. She might get drafted. When revealed, the enemy team searches the encounter and discard pile, and the encounter deck and discard pile for a copy of Life Model Decoy and attaches it to Maria Hill. That's going to be really important. Obviously, we've kind of covered this card, but again, we're going to have to understand the unique rule because your leadership Maria Hill and your hero Maria Hill and Maria Hill the Minion are going to all have interactions with each other. Might have some doppelgangers. You got 2 copies of Life Model Decoy, which is tech traded. The enemy team attaches this card to a minion or their leader, limit 1 per character. Attached character gains Stalwart. That's already going to be important. And Force Interrupt, when the attached hero would take any amount of damage, prevent that damage and discard this card. So this feels very similar to the Life Model Decoy we've already seen with Maria Hill, but just adds that to whatever minion or leader or villain we're talking about. And I think giving Ultron a Life Model Decoy, again, I keep going back to the Juggernaut. I think even Mr. Sinister is going to be a good advocate for gaining the Life Model Decoy. It's all fun and games. You give Baron Zemo Life Model Decoy for all I care. Then we've got Executive Order, which is a treachery. When revealed, place 2 threat on each scheme. If Maria Hill is in play, this card gains Surge. Woo, rough. Boost, if Maria Hill is in play, this card gets 3 additional boost cards. This is right out of Civil War 1. I recognize this art, no questions. This is brutal. This gives you a reason why you want to get Maria Hill gone as soon as possible, because Surge and possibly hitting something else is rough, but putting 2 threat on each scheme, that is so much. And I do believe the play areas are separate, so you're not putting 2 threat on the scheme across from you, I don't think. But either way, this is brutal, and it's going to make for some interesting stories. And lastly, for Maria Hill's thing, we've got Shield Helicarrier, 3 threat, hinder 1. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme deals 1 damage to each character they control on each minion engaged with them. So yeah, this is just, you know, raining down Hellfire. Yeah, and obviously you get an additional encounter card, so all well and good. And finally, as we move into the last encounter set, this one I actually feel like is maybe one of the most unique, and I'm probably, as I talk about it, going to find some overlap. But as of right now, this just kind of feels like its own thing. And again, I love the Thunderbolt scenario. We get more Thunderbolts. They do not interact the same way as... None of these are elite, so you don't have to worry about having these be the encounter set for your actual Thunderbolt scenario. We've got Venom. We've got Bullseye. I feel really bad because I used this Bullseye art in a custom scenario that I was building, and now I will probably have to change it. So Venom, 1, 3, 4 health. His attacks gain piercing, and when revealed, Venom attacks your leader. Otherwise, Venom activates against you. So yeah, okay, I meant to look at the competitive rules. I don't want to pretend like I know how this works. I think he might attack across the table, if I'm following this correctly. Bullseye has, when revealed, of the enemy team discards an attachment from your leader. Otherwise, discard an attachment you control. So yeah, just these come down, really just mess with everything. You know, they're attacking, they're, you know, catching people off guard. We've got Justice Like Lightning. It's a treachery. When revealed, each minion it activates against the player it's engaged with. We've seen that before. Otherwise, the enemy leader activates against you. Do not give them an extra boost card for this. So we've seen this before somewhere in the... oh yeah, it's basically the same thing as Street Defenders. I knew I'd seen this before. Cool, and yeah, just makes it so that you're going to be doing something interesting. And then we've got Excessive Force. A treachery. When revealed, place 1 threat on the main scheme for each minion in play. Otherwise, this card can surge. Boost ability of the enemy leader attacks your leader after this activation. Do not give them an additional boost card. So the enemy leader attacks your leader. Oh boy. Okay, yeah, this I'm gonna have to look at the competitive rules to completely assess what that means. I feel like I'm probably getting my wires crossed, and the way that they refer to stuff is just, you know, like I got my wires crossed. But either way, this is an interesting card to say the least. And then Dangerous Recruits, which is also the name of the encounter set. Oh, we got Lady Deathstrike there. I did not even think about that. Lady Deathstrike is kind of out of place here. 3 threat, hinder 1, forced interrupt. When a minion is defeated, give it to the enemy leader as a face down boost card. And that's relevant because, oh, maybe they don't, yeah, they just have a lot of boost icons on them. They don't necessarily have the boost star on them, but either way, fun side scheme. And all of these are just really get me wanting to just see where I can go next. Obviously, we've talked about a lot of cards, but what is some of your favorite cards? What are the encounter sets that you're going to use going forward? That's all the time I've got. This has already run pretty long, but hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully this has been a nice way to archive what is actually in all these, because we didn't know the contents of all this going in. I looked at Hall of Heroes multiple times to make sure that I understood what we knew, and we didn't know all of this. And now that I have a clear picture of how these kind of all interlinked together, I can appreciate them a lot more. But that's all the time I've got. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for your time. You're doing great. Keep it up, and I'll see you next time.